I only think there's one or two people in our audience that is going to feel any type of way about you making the statement that you just made before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
But it very directly ties to a story of my family. Do you know this story about the person that you brought up? Okay, well, first of all, clue in the audience. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. What did you just say to me moments ago?
That I snapped instead of clapped, or the Bob Dylan thing.
The Bob Dylan thing.
Oh, I think Bob Dylan kind of sucks. Great songwriter, but kind of sucks.
I'm not educated enough in his work as a whole to argue it too much, but I think I could argue that it's worth giving a deeper glance at before totally discounting. Mm-hmm. But I agree. He's been around for so long. He's made so much stuff. So much of it has to not be very good. And his stuff nowadays sure is sad. His live performances, all that. But the reason I brought it back up for the beginning of the podcast is because my grandparents swear by the story, and have sweared my entire life, my mom's entire life, that before he was famous, when he was couch hopping across the country, Bob Dylan lived with an offshoot of my family for a period of time.
Wow.
Nothing Bob Dylan has ever said has ever, confirmed this story.
But nothing's denied it.
And I think anytime I've pressed the story for more details, my grandparents are like, I don't think it's true, but my grandparents have said my entire life, it's one of those family legends that has no truth in it, but that Bob Dylan lived with the Thomases at one point.
Wow.
What do you think about that? Does that make you think of him or me just a little bit higher? Yeah, think about what you're saying about your buddy Zach when you talk shit.
About your lineage?
About the Rolling Stone himself, Bob Dylan.
Yeah, Zach, it does change my impression of him. It tells me that not only was he not so great a singer, a pretty good songwriter, but he also had terrible taste in
people to sleep on the couch of?
Yeah.
The other legend in my family that one time I was at my grandparents' house
love a legend.
And my grandpa was reading this old as fuck book, and he was like, everybody gather around, I've got important news. We're related to the guy who was dubbed the name Johnny Appleseed. This is who he originally was. I'm reading this book, I'm looking through lineage. We're related to the guy who is Johnny Appleseed. Everyone's like, okay, that's pretty cool. It's interesting. Let's read some Wikipedia pages about the guy. That's awful neat. 25 minutes later, he's read a couple more pages of his book, and he's like, guys, update. Not in any way related to the guy dubbed Johnny Appleseed. False alarm as apple seeds are confirmed. As apple seeds are...
Sure. Concerned.
You're so smart.
I was thinking, wow, black people really don't have that kind of thing because we can't trace our lineage very far.
That's funny.
The furthest I can trace my lineage back, Zach,
is to Harriet Tubman herself.
Is great-grandparents.
The black Johnny Appleseed. Harriet Tubman, right?
2 above that was literally slavery. So
yeah.
I can't go super far. But the thing in my family is that, and I don't know how true this is. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, black people had to escape slavery. A lot of them did. Some of them never did.
Right.
But my family that lived up in the northern part of the United States and in Canada, that's from my grandma's side, apparently when they escaped, it was Elizabeth Taylor's family that helped them.
That sounds like a Bob Dylan story. Do you think that's true, or do you think it's been embellished over a family game of telephone?
Her family was
involved with
the Underground Railroad, and they were located in a place that my family came from.
That's the important
detail. So it's not
detail.
Out of the realm of possibility.
It's not just, we heard that these people did this, so that happened to us too. Mm-hmm. The location. Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Into the Time Knife. We're here to wrap up with a pretty little bow and a pretty little box our coverage of the incredible second season of The Good Place. We're wrapping up our season 2 chat today. I don't think just covering the season finale quite does it justice after how epic and time-spanning this season has been. I think we've got to come back to it and discuss it one more time, talk about the highs and try to come up with some lows as we finish this season of the show up before trailblazing along into the second half of the podcast with season 3 of The Good Place, which is nuts. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Is it our bottom half or top half, Zach? Or are we split down the middle?
What do you mean?
If our podcast were a person, would we be right as it cut
We're right above the penis, is what you're saying? as we head down towards the feet.
I don't know what kind of genitalia our podcast has.
I think it's pretty male-leaning. I think our podcast has a moderate, not too showy, but certainly their penis.
Okay, I'll take it.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Zach. A moderately... What did I say?
Not too showy, but still there.
A moderately not too showy, but still there podcast host.
And I'm Steven. And I don't have anything really. I don't have anything.
You're not
expected totally flat
to.
Down there.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, you know?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've got to shout out our patrons, $10
Heyo.
and up, over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Those people, of course, are Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, I guess, and Autumn Marsh. 4 people that are very important to us. They've been keeping the lights on here at Can't Disappoint Podcasts for a long time at this point. And if you're listening to us every week, and if you like us, I don't know, in general, I feel like if you're listening to us every week, whether you are interested in the bonus content, which there is a ton of on Patreon, not that they owe us, but I am humbly asking that you would consider supporting us starting at $5, because look, it's not free to put this show on, and it's certainly not free to make it better and to get it out there to more people. So if you've got the $5 in these trying times, look, my car broke down this week. I can't drive to the podcast my store home anymore. You're gonna let me? If you've got the extra funds and you like what we do here every week, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. We do the live pre-show every week before we record this show, which you get this show a week early every week on Patreon. You get our That 70s Show Rewatch podcast, The Basement, exclusively on Patreon, along with all 40 episodes of Brokeback Bebop, which for free, the second season of is starting next Thursday, or this Thursday, I suppose, August 10th. So check out Brokeback Bebop and sign up for the Patreon.
Brokeback Bebop. Check it out. Love it.
Oh, a little Jet Black. That's a good one.
He's got a little bonsai.
Does he have his robot extremities?
He's got an arm.
Nice.
That's new.
As an anime figure collector, and now that we're years and years along the pop vinyl craze, do you think they're overrated? Do you think they're on their way out? Because I think yes.
I think that from where I stand, I don't think that the pop things are the best figures by any means. I think they're cute. I think they're fun. I think they're easy to collect because of the minimal amount of space they take up, and that's why I like them. I think there's a wide range of available characters that are not very expensive. As someone who has a mix of expensive figures and pop vinyl, I think you get what you want to get. I'm going to keep buying them.
I agree with that. Collect what you want to get what you want to get. But I'm to the point where if I'm watching YouTube videos and the guy has like a wall of 600 pop vinyls behind him. Did I say U2s? I said
no. U2s is what the YouTubers are doing now.
Oh, sure. But you know, when people have that to show off, I'm not that impressed by it anymore. I actually quite like the clean look of your diverse spread of types of figures on shelving units, much more to a wall of pop vinyls, because they all kind of look the same,
I think if you have a shit ton of pop vinyls like in boxes, they're never going to be worth that much money, and the ones that are worth that much money you had to pay a fuck ton to get, so it kind of defeats the purpose.
And I don't think the value is going to go up that much. I'm sure it will at
not of the
point,
pop
but they're
vinyls.
too accessible. Those are our hot takes for the week.
Like
Bob Dylan
and from somebody who
pop
does
vinyls out. Season
out.
2 of The Good Place about to be out, but right now very much in. Steven, how are you? Oh, go ahead. Never mind. If you want what?
If you want something a pop vinyl size, but want something that's much nicer, get a Nindroid. They're like actual little customizable figures. You can like change out the face plates, and like they actually do move their arms and legs a little bit.
Interesting. So you can change the one you have into other characters with different faceplates?
You can. I more so used to change different expressions on the same character.
So will they come with several expressions?
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
With a few different faces, sometimes a few different hair options.
Makes it a lot more masturbatory if you can change their expressions, I'd assume.
It's true. You can roleplay.
Gross.
But I'm good.
I'm really glad to hear that. How was your week?
It was kind of eventful. I had a work event where Danny and I got to do a cool performance to a song in Japanese that I like quite a bit.
Song?
It was a dance
what song?
style we hadn't performed. It's called Shino Nunga Ewa.
Ewa, God from Avatar. I'm familiar.
You got it. You know it. You're familiar with his work. I mean, Avatars.
Yes.
The big blue one.
Right.
Awa is obviously a woman. But it's a dance style we hadn't done professionally, performatively before, so that was kind of fun. Nightclub two-step. It's a real groovy dance.
What is that?
It's a real groovy dance. I can't really demonstrate it.
Show me what the arms do. You do one of these? Oh, my.
Wow.
You're doing that in the nightclub?
Yeah.
I feel like it takes up too much space.
You know me, I'm like, hey.
I feel like you're just going to be hitting everybody else in the club.
That's why it's special. And then I was at an executive training conference in just outside of Philly.
As an unpaid intern, obviously.
I was just getting the coffee for the executives.
For the big boys.
Yeah, I flew in just to... Nobody grabs coffee like my boy Steve over here.
Flew yourself in, too. They didn't pay for it. You volunteered.
Showed up. Did not take any
hotel.
coffee orders. Only brought decaf that was room temperature, and nobody seemed to want it.
My week sucked. My week was a room temperature decaf coffee of a week. My car broke down. I've been stuck in my house for 5 days.
Wow, you sound like a conservative country star at the beginning of the pandemic.
What do you mean? Should I start singing about like their Imagine by John Lennon?
Is that what a conservative country star sounds like?
When a famous person has to be stuck in home for more than 20 hours and it goes crazy. That's how I felt. I've watched a lot of movies. I'm ready to get in my car and get out of here. But I've been really looking forward to doing the podcast and preparing for the podcast because it gives me something to do. I have had nothing to do for a week almost. It's been so long. I've barely gone outside except to walk across the street to the grocery store every now and then. I'm so bored, Steven. What's it like outside? Are the people still moving and shaking? Are things still going on?
Everything's very different now.
Really? What happened? Since X took over Twitter, everything changed.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I've never felt less about something than I feel about the icon changing from a bird to an X.
Well, not just the icon, the name of the app.
Sure. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter.
You no longer tweet.
I'm not respecting
no longer
Twitters.
Tweets. They are now posts and reposts. They've completely wiped tweet and Twitter off of it. Of course, it's going to be a reel for Indiana heads, Deer Creek to Klipsch to whatever it is now situation. Mm-hmm. All the cool kids will be like, well, in my day it was Twitter, so I'm still going to call it Twitter. But it isn't anymore. Twitter was the social media platform that sprung its own verb.
Yeah.
Tweeting. It became not a silly thing to say or think. It was just part of the lexicon, and they decided that's not important anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really care either.
I think Elon Musk is a bad guy, but...
Yes, I agree. Twitter's been the best way to get our podcast out to people, so I imagine I'll continue to use it that way. But alternatively...
Do we have a Threads? Should we get
That's
on
what
Threads?
I was about to say. Alternatively, I've never been more convinced that it's time to find a Twitter alternative. That maybe Threads or this Blue Sky is one I'm hearing about.
There's like a black people one too, but you have to get like invited to it.
Or even maybe we should start TikTok and post little clips on TikTok.
I'll TikTok.
No, I don't want you to do that. I think we could repurpose clips from the podcast where we do little silly, zany, flip a bottle and catch it.
I'll TikTok. Don't worry about it.
You're not going to do that.
I'll Renegade.
Maybe it is time
to think about Renegade. TikTok,
some other social medias. Let us know. What should old man Zach and Steven sign up for next to get our content?
Is it time to finally get a MySpace, guys? Can we make a Tumblr that's just vulgar?
MySpace?
Wait, you can't put your butthole on Tumblr anymore, can you?
I think they brought the buttholes back.
Oh shit, time to go to Tumblr.
I think they brought the buttholes back. I've never really understood Tumblr. I've seen all kinds of content from it that I've found funny, but I don't know. Even when I was a kid, I was an old man that did not know how to engage with it. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about The Good Place. Let's talk about season 2 of The Good Place. I've been revisiting a little bit our podcast from this season over the last couple days to prepare some stuff for this. And it really struck me how across season 2, how far we went.
Yeah.
You know, season 1, it took a whole season to find out it was the bad place. So season 2 starts with the reboot from that. And think of all the things that happened that lead us to Eleanor alive again at the end of season 1. It is such a sprawling 13 episodes of the show. They never spend more than 2, maybe 3 episodes before the next big game shifter.
Yeah.
I think that makes this season that's really so short compared to the history of television so impressive that there is a lot to recap. We're not going to try to recap all of season 2. Well, Steven's going to try to do it in 20 seconds here in a little bit. But it just struck me how this season did so much throughout 13 episodes so well. It made it even more impressive to think of it as a whole instead of episode by episode like we have been so far.
Well, and I think it's such a consistent season too. I mean, the worst of this season is tough to pick because it's all so good. And I think that there's, you know, every episode mattered for the most part in some way or another.
You can make an argument.
And I think even if you look at, you know, when we did Community, our favorite season of Community, we still had episodes that we were like, now, a lot more episodes.
That's what I was going to say. 25, 26 episodes. Sometimes.
Yeah, but it's crazy to have, I mean, just 13 episodes come out where, and I remember watching it the first time, Zach, we felt the same way. How is this still so good? What are they going to do next? No way can they keep this up. And they proved us wrong week after week. And I think it was so cool going back through this time and even taking like a more, you know, magnifying glass look at all the episodes. They're still all good. And
even the couple of episodes that I remembered being good but not my favorite, thinking back on the show, we've ended so many of the conversations this season saying, well, now that we've looked at it like that, I like this episode even more. One of my favorites of the series. You wouldn't believe how many times, especially me, at the end of just about every episode, I'm like, that's one of the best ones. That was a really good one. Because they are. And you're right. Every single episode contributes something to the story at large, which leads to this really sprawling season that never stays in one place too long, that is always moving forward. And it's one of the things that I appreciate so much about this show. And it never really lets up. It's really only the first season that does one thing for a pretty long time. The rest of the show, it's got other stuff to do.
Yeah, truly.
Well, I think what we're going to do first here is one of our favorite segments week in and week out. Let's see if Steven can earn an F this week, because we're going to find out as a group, not only did Steven watch the episode this week, but did Steven retain the season?
Did Steven retain the season? Yeah, I'm bad like a Barbie. Summer, something. You like Ice Spice?
I think you did that last week, too.
Yeah, I know. I did it again.
Do I like Ice Spice? As a personality, sure, I don't listen to modern pop music as much as I should, so I haven't heard enough of her stuff.
Ice Spice, not a pop artist, but okay.
Well, isn't she popular and on the radio?
Shut the fuck up,
Well,
Zach.
But listen to me. What is pop music if not rap now? There's your Taylor Swifts and they're your pop artists, but it's not what's taking over the radio stations like it was when we were kids. It's rap and those couple of artists that are still hanging on. Don't look at me like that, because I said that for a reason, goddammit.
Well, technically pop means popular, so if it's popular with the youth...
I don't sound like Patrick Starr. I used to. I worked on it. I don't anymore. Steven, you've got 20 seconds. No, last season, I think we gave you a full 30 seconds to recap the season. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to try to get in as much as you can to tell us what happened in season 2. I think what is important to remember here is not even necessarily to touch on every single episode, but to get to the beginning and to get to the end and get a good chunk in the middle. It's going to be a struggle. How are you feeling?
You know, Zach, I actually am not feeling that bad.
Why?
I think I might.
You should. Okay. You should be feeling
because
bad.
The story, the season 2, even more than season 1, has so many things happening that maybe
it's really forgiving to miss a lot of stuff.
A miracle will happen.
Is that from something, or is that your true prayer?
That's me.
That's your heart.
My true
that came
prayer.
from you. Okay, you're gonna have 30 seconds, Steven, to tell us everything that happened, in case this is someone's first episode they're listening to of our podcast, or of The Good Place. Everything that happened in season 2 of The Good Place. Are you ready?
Yes.
Unlike most times, you'll have 30 seconds this time. But like every other time, you'll start on go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Eleanor wakes up and the good place is restarted. Then Eleanor wakes up and the good place is restarted over and over and over again because they keep figuring out it's the bad place. And finally Michael gives in and he's like, let's join forces. I can't beat you. Then they are in a simulation run by Vicky and they're pretending, and then that all falls out because Sean shows up and he's like, congratulations, you win. And then Sean finds out that it was all a lie, and that then they end up in the bad place where they find a portal to the judge where they meet Maya Rudolph and she's like, you're all bad, I'll give you a test. They fail the test, then they end up getting through. Fuck me, that was bad.
No, Steven, it was not bad.
It was not as bad as it felt like.
It was not as bad as you felt like. I think for a good stretch of that, you did really well. Where you started to lose me was when you talked about them going to the bad place. I think you missed a couple details there, and then you didn't get the ending. I think you were on your way to doing a pretty serviceable recap of like speed running where we've been this season. And I don't think you ruined it. I just think you did bring it down. I almost want to give you a B- because I liked a lot of it, but I'm gonna go with a C+. I'm gonna go with a C+ for this recap of season 2, which is not a C+ season of the show in any way. I want to go back to talking about how the best seasons of Community, which is one of our main reference points because we've podcasted about every episode of Community, how those seasons had easily 5 episodes or 3 episodes that were the worst of the season. Do you think that makes The Good Place a better show?
So I'm going to equate it to music albums, Zach.
Music albums?
Because I would rather have an 8-track album where all 8 songs are fantastic than have a 16-track album with 10 great songs and 3 okay songs and a couple bad ones. And I'd rather have that than a 26-song album with 13 great ones and 13 ones I don't care about.
I hear what you're saying. Here's my yes and. If you really love the artist, you're excited to see them do all of the weird things they want to do with those 26 songs. And even the 10 that aren't bangers on the playlist, you can probably see why they did that experiment and appreciate that they did it. I feel the same way with Community. I love that creative team, that cast so much that even the worst episodes of each season of Community probably have lines that make us laugh harder than most of the jokes in The Good Place. It's kind of apples and oranges, even though they're both NBC sitcoms that aired in the same block, I think. Community ended before The Good Place started. But you know what I'm saying? There's not that much separating them other than so much about what each show is. I think I'll always prefer Community, but it truly says something about The Good Place having 13 episodes, doing something totally different with each one, and them all being successful. It was hard to pick a bottom 3 episodes.
It was really hard.
It was hard to leave out a few of the top 5 episodes. I'm really excited to see what we do when we get to those lists.
I think this season of all of the ones that we're going to cover in this show, we might have the most different answers because it's such a strong season.
You think that's true? I am intrigued. I'm intrigued. Before we do that, we're going to do a little trivia redemption round. We have a lot of fun with our trivia on this show, but sometimes the fun is more compiling the questions than actually getting the other person to know what the answer is. I feel like lately, both of us have been on an uptick of doing better at trivia. I think when we did this for season 1, though, the redemption round did not go well because there's quite a bit of removal from most of these episodes. But I've compiled questions. We're going to go back and forth and have a fun little, do we remember the season we've been talking for 20 hours about this last few months? You go first. Let me get a question.
Okay. I think we have the same number of questions.
Cool.
What disease did it feel like Camilla's songs could cure?
Cancer is my guess.
Wrong.
Yeah. What is it?
Malaria.
I don't remember that part at all. Don't remember the context. My first question for you. When Jason tampers with Luong's bike, what does he send him off to get at the store?
A kite.
Good job. 1 for Steven. Let's keep
score.
What did
Jason and Pillboy used to do together?
Well, I feel like a couple of things throughout the season could be referenced as that.
I'll
like
tell
the
you, my
flamingo
questions
thing.
are in episode order.
But your question is specific. I remember because I was looking through my trivia. I remember asking about this. It was something about drones. It was doing something at drones. But I don't remember what they did to them.
You didn't get enough for me to give you credit, Zach.
I understand.
They used to walk together, get high together, and throw old batteries at drones.
Batteries at drones.
Mm-hmm.
How long was the shortest reboot?
8 seconds.
That is correct. You're 2 for 2.
I think I had that in one of my questions that episode, and so I
believe that's Michael sitting on the button or something.
I thought that was the one where
he accidentally says it's the bad place.
Yeah, and Eleanor walks in and is like, "This is the bad place?"
Yeah, that's true. That is probably the 8-second one.
Mm-hmm. How many days did attempt 3 last?
Fuck. 5.
128.
0 for 3. Where should Michael and Jeanette go this weekend? Remember Jeanette. Make me a Dubai.
Samba
it's
dancing.
Not Dubai. Huh?
Take samba lessons.
Yes.
In Brazil? Rio?
San Diego.
2
for 3. 0 for 3. You're not bad.
How long was Sebastian's spoken word jazz opera?
Eleanor, I adore. I don't remember how long it was. I don't know how long to go. I'm going to say 23 minutes.
3 hours.
3 hours. Yes, of course. That would be the man of my dreams, personally. Mm-hmm. What does Michael think that pulling an Eleanor is? This might be the one to get you.
Not the things that Eleanor guesses. Being a good friend?
No, you're doing so well. Michael thinks that pulling an Eleanor is posting a cousin's credit card number on Reddit because she said I looked tired.
That's such a funny one.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
You've been doing well so far.
What would Jason rate Tahani if she auditioned to be in his crew?
Is it a 9 is the highest?
Is that your guess?
Yes.
A perfect 8 out of 13.
Really 8 is the highest, and then really 9 starts to go back down. Fuck, I haven't gotten anything right, have I?
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
You will.
How do you activate a Janet? This one should be in there somewhere, I think. In that little brain boy of yours.
I know. I'm just trying to get it right. You,
I think you're thinking a little too hard.
Is it you hold the nose and tug on the earlobe?
No. All you have to do is press the nose for 3 seconds. You're thinking of different commands for different things. Yeah.
Damn.
Damn!
How many did I get? 3 so far? 3 or 4?
I think so.
Okay. What year was the trolley problem introduced?
1963.
You're so close. I'm going to give you one more crack at
1964.
1967.
Damn, I wasn't that close.
Yeah.
Well, my next one for you. What is marbleized Janet high in if ingested?
Potassium.
Good job. That's
like a banana.
4 out of 6.
I think that's 4 for me. How many workmen are in the original trolley problem?
4. Because 3 and 1. No, just 3. Because the other person's a bystander.
4 and 1.
Drat. What is Eleanor's ideal rebound guy like?
Does she give like descriptive qualities?
She gives, it would be a mix of this. Does that tell you? A mix of these people.
Reminds me of the okay, Stone Cold Steve Austin's.
Yeah. I kind of gave it to you.
Yeah. Head. And
don't remember.
Tahani's body.
Yes, good job. Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. I'd be into either one.
That's 5 for you, I believe, or 6.
That's a lot. How many times has Janet been rebooted?
Oh my gosh. Well, as many times as the neighborhood has been. Over 800.
Yeah, you give me. It's really close to the number 800.
802.
Hey-o!
There she is.
Ring-a-ding, ding, 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 ding,
One
ding.
for Zach. Look at you now. Not so big in your britches.
This is where Zach makes his comeback and gets every other question right.
Boom. Who was Jason's first kiss? Look at you now.
Teacher?
No, it was the sexy mouse robot in the Chuck E. Cheese band.
Nice. I get
How
it.
the mighty tumble.
Why shouldn't Jason eat everything that smells good?
Because sometimes it's candles.
Sometimes it's candles. Another one for Zacharoni and cheese.
Okay, here's another one. What is Tahani's name for a giant pancake? We discussed this one. I remember the conversation we had about it.
She doesn't call it a flapjack.
She
call it
4 words.
A 10-stone griddle cake?
Bad enough to get 0 credit, even though you got 3 out of 4 words right, because I'm coming for that title. 10-stone griddle chip.
I was so fucking close.
You are, but I think for the fun of the competition, as I'm on an upswing, I think I'm at 3, and you are at
5.
I'll edit this down if I'm wrong. I want to count. You're at 4.
So you're at 2. I'm at 4.
Okay.
And you're going to get this next one, I'm sure. What team's games are shown in the bad place?
Oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because they suck.
They suck.
3-4. All right. What is you're going to get this one. What is shotgun on Optimus Prime? I think you'll get it. You're not going to get it. Fuck. Hell yeah, you're not going to get it. Give me that lack of answer.
Nipple?
Yeah, that's right. You did it.
Fuck yeah.
I thought you would get it.
Goddamn.
5-3.
Okay. What was Eleanor's yearbook quote?
Was it "You're not better than me"?
Sure was.
For a second, I thought maybe that was Jason's, but it was Eleanor. Okay. Who did Rhonda Mumps once shove a hot dog down the throat of?
Brad Pitt?
No. Legendary John Wayne.
John Wayne.
Not very close. Actor. Is that 4 to 5?
I think so.
My panties are soaked.
How long are Bad Place trains delayed?
Is it an hour? No, what is it?
3 hours, what we were looking for.
That was what my first thought was, and I second guessed it. I think you'll get this one. What sauce is the judge using both in show and in the real world for her burrito?
Okay, real world is Cholula.
Yes.
In show.
Are your buttholes as tight as mine is right now, audience? My butthole has not been this tight in some time.
Hope.
That is incorrect. That's not enough to cinch a point. Envy. The concept of envy.
Envy. Goddamn.
We're still 5-4?
Yeah. What is Bad Janet sick of smelling?
Is it in reference to Michael?
Possibly.
Is it old white farts?
Wrongo. You're close. It's Michael's lumpy white ass.
Lumpy white ass. Yeah. Oh, we're running out of questions. Here's my next one. When Tahani opens the door to see her parents, what 3 things does she reveal she's done to them?
Ate a Cheeto.
You got to get all 3.
Snogged a Floridian. I don't know if she said snog, but she kissed a Floridian.
You got to give me the word, I think. Really close to snog. Do you know the word? They did more than snog.
Oh, she shagged a Floridian.
Uh-huh. There's one more.
And then the third one. This is the one I had trouble remembering when you asked me this originally, too.
True. I'm not going to give you a hint.
I'm thinking it's in there. It's in there.
I'm feeling a time window
died
closing.
In Cleveland.
The first one is she died dressed as a service worker.
No, I said it. I said died before you said it. That doesn't count.
I literally, Zach, there's a delay. I literally was saying it before you started saying it. I don't believe it. I don't think that counts because that brings us into the last question at 4 and 5.
Okay.
That's interesting. I see what you're saying, but on my end, I got too much of the answer out to feel confident to give it to you because we had said you're out of time and all that.
Yeah, this is true.
So one more question.
Okay. You ready?
And it's you. Yes.
What year was St. John's University founded?
I didn't get this right, but I got the earlier year question. I think I got 1860 right. Like
you got part of
186. But that might. Are you telling me that all is right? 186.
In the question you asked earlier, I thought you meant in my what year is the trolley problem. You got 3 of the digits right.
1837. Not right.
I think that's exactly what you guessed.
Is it 1867? 63?
It is 1826.
Damn.
Zach.
So you win, but let's see if you can get my last question. That was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
That was fun. I'm glad,
well earned, because I was bad in the beginning, and
then you went on
brought
a run.
It up a little. I did go on a run, and then it ended flat. My last question for you: in the season finale, Somewhere Else, what does Eleanor order at the Mexican restaurant?
Some kind of salad. It's like a
no. I think you also asked me this question.
I think I did ask you this question. I don't know, cucumber soup.
No, she ordered the steamed vegetable medley and water. That's our trivia. That was fun.
That was fun, buddy. Good job.
Don't feel fully redeemed. I feel like you were fairly redeemed.
Yeah.
And it made for a fun competition.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. The next thing on the docket is finally to get to those lists, our bottom and top of the season. I think we should start. Ooh, what? That was a weird way to say the word start.
Start.
You don't always have to mock me.
Don't do the voice.
I think we should start with the bottom 3 episodes. I'm excited to see what we landed on for these. And I think all of our answers for both of them are going to say, it's this episode. But yeah, why don't
I'm absolutely sick to my stomach about one of my bottom 3 choices.
What's your third worst episode of
the
series?
I am sick to my stomach about this choice.
You shouldn't
Zach,
be.
But I couldn't over here. I couldn't put the other options here.
Okay.
My number 3.
I'm excited.
Everything is Great, Part 1.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. Of all the episodes this season, this is the one, and knowing where it goes, I understand why it is the way it is, but it's the one that we're the same place the longest. It's just a reboot of the pilot episode. It doesn't do anything totally insane yet. It's just
that's not totally true.
In part one ends before they get rebooted again. It's still the first reboot.
Part 1 ends with Tahani is the one giving the drunken speech at the party.
Yeah.
We've seen Eleanor and Chidi both come back, and it ends with a fire being caused and Eleanor being like, I got her off the stage. I think part 1 culminates to a little bit more than what you're giving it credit for. I'm not taking your choice away. I'm just backing up what I think.
I think it's a great episode, and it's a fantastic pilot.
You were sick to your stomach and all that, so it's okay that you're dead wrong. My number 3, unless you have more to say.
No.
Okay. My number 3 worst of the season, and it was tough because I like a lot about this episode. You're nervous. Why are you more nervous than I am? My number 3 worst episode of the season is going to be Best Self.
Okay, I thought that's what I thought you were going to say something else.
Okay. I like this
episode.
Disagree with you. I like this episode, especially going back and revisiting it and remembering that the air balloon part of it doesn't take up as much of the episode. And I like that it's more satisfying that Michael isn't trying to torture them. He is using those tactics to stall because that's all he's got. And then in the end, we get some really sweet stuff as the group comes together before they move on to the next unknown. However, I think the hot air balloon thing really specifically is not it feels lazy because it is lazy on purpose, but it makes that stretch of the episode feel a little bit less captivating than most of the rest of the season. And just that was enough to edge it into my bottom 3.
My number 2, Team Cockroach. I think coming off of a fantastic ending of an episode where you unexpectedly get Michael saying,
let's team up, guys.
Let's team up.
Yes.
They spend, and it's not quite a bottle episode, but it feels a lot like one. It's basically the gang deciding, like, should we join forces with him? And I think there's good stuff in this episode. It's a good episode of the show, but it doesn't do as much to excite or break the mold. It's kind of us all collectively dealing with the fact that something is going to break the mold, but it's one of the very few kind of transitional episodes this season, I feel. It's a good episode. There's a lot of funny stuff, a lot of great dialogue, a lot of really think-worthy things that the gang talks about, but it's not one of the top for me, which it lands it in the bottom. In the words of RuPaul's Drag Race, at this point in the competition,
wouldn't that
if
just
you
be
are
in
not
the
in the
words
top,
of RuPaul?
You are in the bottom. Also,
yeah,
go
Steven just deep in the bottom. One of my favorite places for him to be. I'm already learning that you're right. Our lists are very different. 2 of your 3 episodes are not in my bottom 3 episodes. The 2 that you said are not on my list. My number 2 worst episode of the season is going to be Somewhere Else, the season finale, which I've come to appreciate a lot more. It's just because it slows down when none of the other episodes do. I think a lot of what you said about Everything is Great Part 1 is how I feel about the second half or 2/3 of Somewhere Else. I like what it's doing. I like the hints of Michael and Janet rifling through things. But this is one of the rare episodes that is kind of just you watch it to get to the next thing. There isn't a ton in this episode that is like classic all-time Good Place that I remember. It is kind of just a transition episode, and it surprises, but it also kind of stalls or slows down. And it's my number 2, although it is a good episode. I'd probably still give it like a B+. Your number 1.
My number 1
worst
bottom
episode
of the season, which I still give this episode at least a B.
I wonder if we're not going to have any of the same, or do you think we have the same number 1?
We do not have the same number 1.
Because I've said it already.
My number 1 is Best Self.
Okay.
That's the one I think for me is the bottom of the season. It's everything you said about it, I agree with. Someone compared this episode to...
Who's someone that it wasn't one of us?
Well, because I was reading some things online about the episode just to like
you.
get like a little jog about it. And someone was comparing this one to an episode of Game of Thrones.
I haven't
it's like
seen Game
right
of Thrones.
before the big battle. And it's basically everyone sitting around and being like, well, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
Sure.
But there's a big kiss in that episode of Game of Thrones. We don't even get that in this one. And that I was like, it's a good reason. But
I think we do get Chidi and Eleanor dancing.
Talking. They do dance a little bit.
Like resting the head on the shoulder. Okay.
Yeah. But it's a sweet episode, but it's not...
Yeah.
It landed in my bottom, and it was tough. I think you could switch around a couple of episodes because there are a few that are good but not great, and it's hard to separate those for me. But I put that as my bottom one.
My number 1, what I have as the bottom episode of the season, is going to be Leap to Faith.
Wow. That's fair. That one
because the whole thing of that episode that's supposed to make it fun is this heist that involves Michael giving subliminal messages without the others knowing and the others slowly figuring it out. I think it's one of the very, very few times in the Good Place's history where Eleanor puts it all together and it doesn't quite track that she would have gotten what she got out of what was said. I also don't think the roast sequence is especially fun compared when you look at Rhonda, Diana, Jake, and Trent that has the super fun wax figure roast kind of scene, which I think is way better. And then putting it all together at the end, there's a part where they hide under a train that should have been like way cooler and more exciting than what it is. It just kind of happens without us knowing what's happening, and then I don't totally agree when I see how they got what they got. It's not a bad episode, but it's one of the few episodes that I feel like I could poke some holes into the writing and the continuity. That's my number 1. Give me your full 3 before we move on so I can remember.
So in descending order, 3, 2, 1. Everything is Great Part 1. Number 2, Team Cockroach, and my number 1 bottom was Best Self.
Okay. My 3rd worst is Best Self, 2nd worst Somewhere Else, and number 1 worst Leap to Faith. But none of them are bad.
Yeah, none are bad.
It's literally a bottom 3. It really isn't the worst 3. It's the least favorite, but they could still be kind of favorites at times.
And the 2 of yours that I didn't have in my bottom 3 were on the bubble for my bottom 3. They were in the thoughts for it. So,
well, I'm going to kick off the top 5.
Go for it.
Because my number 5 was in your bottom 3.
Wow.
My number 5 is going to be Team Cockroach.
Wow.
I think I see what you're saying about it being a slowdown episode, but I think it's one of the most important slowdown episodes because I've been thinking about this season a lot more as Michael's story and how Michael in the beginning of the season is this ruthless villain, and so when we get the reveal that he wants to work with them, we really need an episode like Team Cockroach to convince these guys why they should and have to work with Michael. I also think it isn't a hindrance that it's like kind of a bottle episode. I think it's a benefit of this episode that the show that doesn't do little episodes like that very often does get to do this episode where it's just Ted Danson, Kristen Bell, William Jackson Harper, Manny Jacinto, Darcy Carden, and Jamila Jamil going off of each other like it's a one-act play for 25 minutes. I think this episode is outstanding. It's my number 5.
Well, I don't argue with it. I think it's a good episode. I think I feel similarly about Team Cockroach how you feel about Leap to Faith.
Sure.
In terms of like around the same level of quality.
it's good-spirited disagreement.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you, but it is so fun and interesting how we talk about the same things, and usually on this show, at the end of a recap, we agree with each other on what we think of the episode for the most part, other than like little things. So for our lists to come out so different is fun. Different. What's your number 5 best?
My number 5, and this was a very highly contested spot. I do want to give an honorable mention to the episode Derek, which does not crack my top 5, even though it's one of the funniest of the season. My number 5 had to go to Janet and Michael. I think this episode has a ton of heart.
That was kind of my bubble episode.
It's kind of the right before Derek stuff. So it's Janet dealing with things that make her feel a lot more human. And I think the ending where Michael calls Janet his oldest, dearest, kindest, like most special friend is really sweet. I think it's a big moment for both of them.
The reason is friends.
The reason is friends.
I thought
this episode was really sweet. And it's an episode that I kind of just gut feeling put in my 5 spot because I think it shows Michael being affectionate towards someone other than a human, which I think is a major step.
I think that's a good pick. I just want to say about that episode, because it's not on my list, I think it does a lot of stuff really well, because the whole first part of the season is about Janet's glitches, and that takes that crazy, zany, she can't stop giving cactuses and then doing the wrong things. It turns it into an emotional story. And also, it's a big step in Michael's humanization of becoming a breathing, thoughtful person thing.
Yeah.
It's a really good episode, and it just edged out of my top 5. My number 4 is also in your bottom 3. My number 4 is Everything is Great Part 1.
Wow.
I think when compared to somewhere else, it really shows a great way to do this reset where we know more than the characters know. And I think that episode does a great job of Groundhog Daying the characters and us. And I do think that episode culminates the first half. Also, I'd like to mention that you ranking it as a part 1 kind of buys into my 13 episode season theory. You realize this, right? If you believed what you've been saying for the last month, you would have said that it was Everything is Great. That's just how it is. You said part 1. And you can't back that up.
They're separate chapters of the same episode.
Yeah, but we're not ranking our bottom 3 chapters. We're ranking our bottom 3 episodes. That was a big win for me. And I think Everything is Great is a big win as a season premiere. And I think it does culminate in something very exciting. Because season 2 doesn't end in a way that shows you no matter what, there's going to be chaos. This episode shows you that no matter how you roll the dice, they're going to find each other and crazy shit's going to go down because of it. I really like Everything is Great Part 1.
I'll take it. Like I said, maybe sick to put it in my bottom 3.
I think our top 3 might be very similar. Perhaps.
I think so. Number 4 for me, Rhonda, Diana, Jake, and Trent. I think it's a really funny episode. It's one of my most memorable ones of the show.
Were you nervous I was going to say that one in my bottom 3? Is that why you were making faces?
I thought you were going to say Derek.
Oh, no. It's a bubble episode for me.
I love getting to actually see the Bad Place for the first time and seeing all the Bad Place characters. I think Janet in that episode is really, really funny. I think that Jason shines in this one. I think Tahani shines a lot. And Eleanor's great in it, too. I think the whole cast is really good. It's just an episode I like a lot of the show. Because it puts us in a brand new setting. And this show does brand new settings really well.
A lot of other shows can't do it so well. When you see the friends at a set that's not familiar, it feels kind of weird.
It feels weird.
Yeah. Well said. My number 3. Let's see where we get into this top 3. I think all of my top 3 are quintessential why The Good Place is so special and unique episodes. I think these are the 3 best episodes of the show that we've covered so far. And my number 3, parts of me have thought about holding this episode back a little bit because I don't think I liked it as much as I remember when we covered it, but it's the trolley problem. It's such a great concept that most people that have any general school knowledge of philosophy, like the most borderline, have heard the trolley problem before. And for The Good Place, that started, not so much at this point that we're at now, started as a show that's about ethics in the afterlife. I think this is one of the most creative blending of those two ideas, where because it's the afterlife, we can visualize and make real all of these things, whether it's the trolley problem or changing it up to now you're a doctor and tell these people that their kid is going to die or whatever. I think visualizing that that in the afterlife while staying true to the human nature of the question is really special and something that I think everyone who loves this show would put on a pretty short list of favorite things from the show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tribe Problem is a great episode. I'll talk more about it later.
Nice.
My number 3, there's one that's not in my top 5 that I will defend later on why it's not there, because I'm sure it probably is going to be one of the next 2 episodes you say. If it's not, I'll be a little bit surprised, but there's so many good episodes that maybe I won't be.
Wow.
My number 3, Everything is Great Part 2.
Okay. Part 1's on... See, I am totally flipped on those, where I think Part 1 is much stronger than Part 2.
See, I love Part 2, because Part 2 for me, they figure it out again. We get more... I don't know. I like Part 2 better. I think it's one of the best episodes of the season.
Clearly. And
for me, it's where I'm continuing that feeling of what are they going to do next? How are they going to keep this going? We get to see Jason doing stuff. I don't know. I like Part 2 better than Part 1.
The reason that I don't like it as much is because by Part 2, we've seen the Eleanor pull shots. These are for you. Chidi, don't make this any harder than it has to be. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
It's not quite as fun to notice the new little details in it. That's why. I do like the Jason stretch of it better than any of the other like wake up stretches. And I like the ending, but that's why I put that as the lower half. But that's your number 3?
Number 3.
Wow. Top 2 episodes of the season. Are you going to wait to tell me what episode you were just referencing that you were sick about leaving off of your top 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you say it.
I think when I say my number 2, it'll make it pretty obvious what my number 1 is, which probably has been kind of obvious this whole time. There is one episode that I think encapsulates what's so special about season 2 of The Good Place. But my number 2 is The Burrito. Is that the episode you thought that you left off?
Yeah.
I love The Burrito, and it was one of those episodes that I thought I didn't like as much, and then when I watched it, I realized how much I do. I love that it takes our humans and makes them face things for themselves. They don't have Michael to lead them through. They just have to make shit up, and it gives them not so much Chidi and Jason, but it gives them these really strong moral tests that set up the finale, that set up that these people have changed since they've been dead. We get concrete proof through test that they aren't perfect, but each of the 4 of them have improved, and it sets up what you need for the judge to then out of nowhere agree to bring them back to life in the season finale. I think a lot of what works in the season finale is because of this episode, and I think this episode, like you said, it's kind of a season finale in its own. This episode is the culmination of a lot of great things in the second half of the season, and I like it a lot. It's my number 2, and it's definitely boistered by things like Maya Rudolph's performance and things like the kiss. We do get the big kiss in The Burrito, I'm pretty sure, between Chidi and
You
Eleanor.
get the kiss in the next episode.
Are you positive? Yeah, it's in the very beginning. But you get 100%. The pretty concrete setup that Chidi's thinking about it here, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I think
You're wrong. Fake Chidi.
You're right. The first stretch of Somewhere Else feels like the last stretch of The Burrito, but that doesn't change anything. It's still my number 2 pretty solid.
Here's why The Burrito did not crack my top 5. I think it's a great episode. I think it has the best Tahani stuff of the show so far. Mad. It has one of the best Eleanor moments of the show so far. Chidi spends hours not being able to pick a hat, and Jason's playing Madden, and that frustrates me because I wanted more out of that. There's only so much time in the episode, I get it, but that's where I'll raise my argument again that The Burrito should have been the last 2 episodes were the Burrito and then more stuff, and then Somewhere Else should have started next season.
I'm not so mad about Jason's thing. I feel like what the writers would come up with is that if you put Jason in a real world scenario, he's going to make the wrong decision. If you VR him into a world where he's with Pillboy and they have to do the safe thing again, he's gonna do it. So I think they did the Madden thing for good reason. I agree with you on the Chidi.
The Chidi thing is what frustrates me a lot.
I agree with you.
Because I'm like, Chidi.
What is my number 2? What's your number 2?
My number...
Have I said this episode? Your number 2?
Well, here's the thing. My 1 and 2 are really, really close.
Really close. You're even thinking about switching it, aren't you? I think I know what they are. I've said one of them, and I haven't said the other one.
You know what? I'm gonna stick with what I have.
That's fine.
My number
Don't
2
let me sway
is
you in any way. If that's what
one of my favorite episodes of the entire show.
Yes.
Dance Resolution.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a perfect episode.
It is.
It's so good. Jason, the fact that they made Jason calling Tahani an 8 out of 13 a like emotionally resonant moment. Incredible. Jason's great in this episode. Everyone's fantastic. We get to see so much in such a short amount of time. I think it's just pretty near perfect, and it shows just how far this show can go. And then it flips it on its head. So it's a great episode. I have so much to say about it that I can't say much about it.
We did a whole episode about it. Go back and listen to it.
It's great. It's fantastic.
It's my number one.
One of the multiple episodes of this show that I give a 10.
It's obvious. It's my number one. It's probably my favorite episode of the series, but I think that could change going into season 3 and season 4. And it's a simple answer why it's my number one of the season. That stretch that's all of the reboots, like the clip show moment where they're wrestling with the pigs angry and all of the cut to, guys, I don't know. I think that is my favorite thing The Good Place ever did. That sequence is my favorite thing the show did, period. So it's my number one. And the rest of it, with Jason and the dance team and giving Michael advice that actually leads to something real happening, I believe this is what leads to, hey guys, let's work together. That is how this episode ends. I think it is the perfect bridge from the absolute zaniness of the beginning of season 2, because everything's been thrown out the window, into the story of season 2. But before they get to it, they do that ridiculous, beautiful, perfect sequence of chaos in the best way. We've seen Eleanor in the gang's chaos sequence. That's like Michael's chaos sequence. Yeah. And it's so beautiful, and I love it so much. My number one easily. Now you can talk about your number one, and I totally know what it is.
So, Trolley Problem is number one for me, and I went back and forth on this a lot, but I'm sticking with the Trolley Problem because I think that, like you said, it takes this basic philosophy thing that most of us have heard of in some way or another, and it totally flips it, and it really makes you ask a lot of questions. But the way that he's torturing Chidi in this episode is so smart, because whether it's evident to you right away or not that he's just torturing Chidi, the way he does it is so good, because he's taking the one thing Chidi has a grasp on and control of, and shows him he has no understanding or grasp on it at all. And I think that it shows the power that Michael has, because until this point, we haven't seen Michael just take us to an alternate VR dimension out of nowhere. And he does it easily.
Just the snap.
Several times in this episode. Resets it with different people, different characters, brings the boots back into it, for God's sake. And it's just really funny. And I think this episode, even though it comes after Dance Dance Resolution, it just reaffirms that this show can do whatever the hell it wants to do.
Yeah,
and
it sure
do
can.
It really well.
That episode, I didn't mention this. What I think makes that episode really interesting is because it's about how Michael sets down his track of learning the importance of and following human ethics. Because he starts that episode as, I can do anything, none of this shit matters. And by the end of the episode, he hasn't been swayed, but he's been swayed to listen to the people who do know more about him. The conversation
with he and Eleanor, I think this episode is one of the best. Just one-on-one, get your shit together. You have to change moments in the show, and it's great.
Fully understand why it's your number one. Give me your top 5. Run them down.
Top 5. Number 5, Janet and Michael. Number 4, Diana, Jake, and Trent. Number 3, Everything is Great Part 2. Number 2, Dance Dance Resolution. And number 1, The Trolley Problem.
And what's the episode number on that Everything is Great Part 2? What do you call that?
That is Season 2, Episode 1, Part 2.
No fucking way. My top 5, number 5, Team Cockroach. Number 4, Everything is Great Part 1. Number 3, The Trolley Problem. Number 2, The Burrito. And number 1, Dance Dance Resolution. What a fucking season of TV. It's the best season of The Good Place. It's one of the best seasons of network sitcom, period. Definitely the most daring season of network sitcom,
The fact, Zach, that you and I only had 2 in common in our top 5 shows how great a season this
was. 2 of your bottom 3 are in my top 5. And you can listen to my reasoning and not disagree with it.
Yeah.
That is really special, and very, very few shows can pull that off.
It's great. So good.
Before we finish wrapping up this final bow on season 2, the last thing we've got to do is talk about the points that we've been rewarding all season. At the end of each episode, we make a decision on one character that should get some good place points and one character that should get some bad place points. And here at the end of the season, we like to compile all of that and see where the scores rank out just from the season. I feel like the people who have really strong positive scores, we should consider letting them go to the good place. And anybody with a 0 or a negative score should go to the bad place, because it's strict.
Well, didn't we let this... Oh, no, we argued about it last year, the 0 going to the medium place or not. I think I won.
No, that wasn't what it was. It was Tahani going to the good place with a low score. That's what it is.
And I won.
So all season we've been giving out points. Shut up. Who cares?
I
guess I do gloat when I win.
Death.
That's true. So we're going to look at these scores, the goods and the bads. This has been a season of a lot of Eleanor positive scores. Going into this, you not knowing the information, how the data rolls out, who do you think will be going to the good place? Who do you think will be going to the bad place?
I think Michael's going to the good place. I think we gave Michael the good place a lot of times. We also gave Michael the bad place a lot of times, so it might also be
That's
Eleanor. Because Eleanor had a great season as well. Bad place, yeah. I'm thinking that it's probably going to be... I don't think Tahani's going to do as well this season as last season.
Let's talk about the bad place first. Let's go through that. Starting with 0 and working our way down. This is going to break the hearts of a few. It breaks the heart of me a little bit.
Oh, no.
But
not
coming
our boy.
In at 0 points is Janet.
Oh.
Janet's
a true neutral. So
that's true. She fits there, but it does send her to the bad place, and that's sad. She did get positive points, and she did get negative points that ended up canceling each other out. 0 points for Janet to the bad place. Also to the bad place is our boy. At negative 100 points, Chidi sends to the bad place.
Ooh, did I give Chidi a bad place?
Yeah, the hat one. You totally did.
Yeah.
Most of our bad place losers are in the negative 100 score, so I'm going to shout all of those out quickly. Vicky goes to the bad place with negative 100 points. There was an episode where I gave Vicky positive points, and it ended up working its way back down to negative 100. I think it was because she stood up against Michael, who was like a bad boss. Negative 100 points sends Mindy St. Clair to the bad place this season. I think one of us gave her a negative 100. Eleanor's mom, with negative 100 points, is going down there. Brittany, the roommate, negative 100 points. And the dress bitch, whose name I refuse to learn, also negative 100 points.
Yeah.
All those people to the bad place. Janet and Chidi are sad, but the rest of them make sense. Coming into the bottom, at the very bottom, with negative 600 points, we're sending Tahani Al-Jamil to the bad place.
behavior was not good. She was mean to Jason.
She was mean to her fake soulmate, the short guy. There were a lot of things that got Tahani negative points.
Yeah.
However, I think by the end, we have turned a new page with Tahani. But it
Tahani
took
had
a while.
Big growth movement in the burrito.
And negative 600 points, Tahani is the ultimate bad place. If we could only send one person, it would be Tahani to the bad place, based off of season 2 behavior. In the positive, there's only 3 names that leaned positive. The lowest one, but enough to, I think, go to the good place at 250 points, is Michael.
Yeah, Michael gets it.
He got a lot of negative in the bad, but he got a lot of positive in the end, and I have totally been awoken to the idea that this is the season of Michael's story, of his character arc from villain to hero, and the guy who's reading the ticker tape in the end is not the guy who wakes up Eleanor in the beginning. So Michael going to the good place makes sense.
Crazy. Have you seen a show? Because anime goes nuts with this shit. But like outside of anime, I can't think of a character arc from so bad to so good.
It's like a reverse Walter White.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Oh my god, I need a death match between Ted Danson and Bryan Cranston.
Walter. Number 2, the second place with the second highest score at 400 points, Jason Mendoza. There was a point in the season where Jason had like 600 points, and then I think there was a time or two where he lost a few. But 400 points, more than enough to send Jason to the good Jason. Place. And coming in at number 1, not much of a surprise. She did start off the season with a couple of negative points, but at 550 points, we're sending Eleanor to the good place. She almost got sent to the good place. And I don't think the streak is necessarily going to continue into season 3, because I think some of the stuff that happens here at the end of season 2 undoes a little bit of her work. But that is our good place, bad place roundup for the season. If you guys have fun being a part of this, send us in emails for season 3. We want your trivia questions for episodes in season 3 coming up, and we want who you would give points to the good place and bad place. Let us know, timeknifepod@gmail.com. Before we close out the show here, since we don't do this for every episode like we have on other podcasts, I want to give a season MVP. I think there are 2 answers, and I'm interested to see what side of the coin you have landed on.
So, Zach, here's my dilemma. There's 2 right answers to this question. It just depends on whether you're thinking about, who had the most growth or who did the best.
Totally.
And in the National Basketball Association and the National Football League, they give both an MVP award and a Most Improved award. That's a comeback award. Most Improved this season, Most Improved Player, goes to Michael for me. But my most valuable player of the season goes to one Eleanor Shellstrop, because she is the only person that has legitimately earned a spot in the good place, and then was such a good friend that she turned it down because she didn't want to abandon her troop. And I think that's pretty fantastic.
I'm going to go with your setup with Most Improved, Most Valuable, because I think you're wrong. I think because she earns a spot in the good place, Eleanor is the most improved player from where she started the beginning to the end. I think Michael, because of how many times he puts his neck on the line to get people to the next spot, to give up his own life to protect those, and then to totally question the world of bureaucracy that he was bred to understand and work for, because he changed his mind. I think that makes him the most valuable player, the MVP, because they could not get where they are without him.
Well, hey, I can't argue with that.
This has been such a fun roundtable. I've genuinely really enjoyed looking back at season 2, and I'm really looking forward to getting right into season 3 with the 2-part Everything is Bonzer. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. What are some of your closing thoughts as we put season 2 to bed? Give it a little kiss.
I think season 2 of The Good Place, like you said earlier, is one of the best, if not the best, and certainly the most daring season of sitcom television that
I don't know about the best, because it depends on what you want. If you want laughs, I don't think it's the best. If you want daring, if you want something you've never seen before and nobody else could do it after without being compared to this, it might be the best.
Yeah, I think that the people that made this show hit the nail on the head with this season, and knowing what happens going forward, they set up things in such a smart way that I had no idea they were setting up at the time, and I'm really excited to get to experience all the stuff that this season made possible.
Yeah, me too. Well said. Great season. Good roundtable. Good season of the podcast. Having a lot of fun. And it is going to be bittersweet, 30-ish or less episodes from now when it's time to put the time knife to bed. But we still got half of the show to get through. Knife. Something that I think is neat, and here's a thought that I would like to close this roundtable on that I think is sweet. Every year, it feels like a year, but it's not a year. Whenever we finish a season of a show that we're covering, I do go back through the episodes to compile some of this information. I could be taking notes, but it's fun for me to go back, because from the beginning of starting the community podcast, I don't think there's been a single season that we've done that there hasn't been a progression of improvement. I think even this season of The Good Place, we're still... Like, this was the season where I learned how to make our audio not have background noise.
Where Zach figured out what a plugin was.
Every season, we're still blazing forward. I think we're getting funnier. I think we're getting more analytical with our show. It's been a really fun season talking about the show with you.
It's been a blast.
And I think we've had some of our goofiest, silliest bits. Please, audience, find that TikTok
ladies.
Of me. Find the TikTok of me, ladies. Please.
Danny and I looked for like an hour.
Did you really?
We found the trend, but we haven't found you yet. It might not have been posted.
So funny. Or I'm sure it's a really small account.
We looked for a long time. But
I love that you did that. Guys, find it.
I searched everything that could possibly result to me seeing you.
Well, guys, if you like what we do
Sexy
here,
redhead in glasses dances in Target.
If you want to be first in line to find if we find that TikTok, it's going to the patrons first. Consider supporting us. $5 is the starting pledge over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. All kinds of Patreon exclusive content that we put just as much effort as we do this podcast over there, and you can only get it over there. So if you like what we do here and you want to listen to us a little bit more every week, consider supporting us on Patreon. Steven, where else can the people find us? And you're going to have to change up what you say a little bit here, because one of the platforms doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, fuck. If you want to interact with us without spending your apartheid money...
If X marks your spot...
Gross. If you can go follow us over... Is it still follow?
You can X us...
Yeah, over on X, over at Time Knife Pod. And we're also on Instagram under the same name. Or see the video companion
until they change that to W or something.
Exactly. I hope it's just everything's letters now. My job is beach, where they can come and find us on YouTube. Search the name of the show, Into the Time Knife.
Only place you can get the video. And how about
stuff.
I show off? What about my The Muppets Are Punk shirt?
That's badass.
It's little, but I
that's
like
pretty,
it a lot.
That's
I like
cool.
it a lot.
I like that shirt. I'm wearing my Konosuba shirt.
Cool.
Season 3 officially announced to come out in 2024 after the Megumin spinoff. So I'm
Is that
super
the
fucking
It's Always
excited
Sunny
about that.
one?
Yes.
Nice.
Zach, you gotta watch it. It's really, really good.
Nah.
Season 2 and the movie are two
I
of the
believe
funniest things I've ever
you,
seen in my life.
and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I tell you to watch all kinds of stuff that you really should watch, and you're not going to watch it because I told you to watch it. That's
I watched
just
some stuff you told me to
how
watch.
it works. I mean, I watched some stuff you told me to watch. I haven't watched any anime you told me to watch. But I'm always down when you give me some extra Steven time to do one of those anime. This is not a conversation for the podcast. We're done. We'll have the business talk elsewhere. We'll fight about these things. Audience, we love you very, very much. I am so grateful that you hang out with us, that you put up with this tomfoolery and chicanery, and I hope that you'll join us next time to kick off Season 3 of The Good Place. Steven, get us out of here. For God's sake, get us out of here.
For Ewa's sake.
Yeah.
In the name of Ewa, the mother tree, from inside the time knife, Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And we'll see you next time.
You want to get a better read on I'm Zach? It sounded like you just took a big hit of hookah.
It sounded weird when I said it. It sounded like I
Yeah.
wasn't certain of my own name, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I can't just do the I'm Zach. Let's roll it again. Marker.
By love of Ewa,
Jesus
from
Christ.
inside
Never
the
should have
time
agreed to
knife,
this.
Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach. Damn it, I
I'm
paused, but I am
Steven.
Zach. And we'll see you next time, you lovable scamp, you. Thanks
Bye,
for hanging out.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
How did I get here? Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. And you may ask yourself, how do I work this? And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell